If I told you that sitting down and writing would help you feel better emotionally, would you try it? In 2020, when emotions were in a frenzy across the world and anxiety was at an all-time high, I started writing scriptures and inspirational quotes in a little notebook. But then I realized what joy it brought me to attempt to learn hand lettering. And I'm still not an expert at this, but it still brings me great joy. And as I work on it, I can feel my emotions just settle as my brain connects to my body. That's one of the main reasons that I like to encourage you to find a creative outlet. Because when you work with your hands and your mind together, it is healing for your body and your emotions and your spirit. I've noticed when I stop this practice for a few weeks or a couple months, when I take my pencil again and start, my first attempts are very shaky and awkward and haphazard. But when I spend just 10 minutes each day working on it for my emotional and healthy well-being, I see improvement from day to day. I date each drawing that I do, and I can look back and see the progress that I've made. I realize now that I probably need a different kind of pen or pencil for my initial strokes. I've always used a colored pencil or even a number 2 pencil, but I realized that my strokes would flow more easily with a different kind of marker. Once I've gotten the letters to look the way I want them to, erased or touched up any of the mishaps that I want to repair, it's so much fun to start adding in doodles. I like to frame what I'm working on with just scrolling lines or vines or flowers or scenery. It just depends on what I've written and what empty space I have left on the page. I like to put the date in this little bow banner. Have you ever tried this practice of hand lettering for yourself? that I've arranged around the words. Once I have that all completed, it's fun to come in and color, fill in the lines, and give some personality with the color. I hope you'll find time to try this too, even if you don't have time to color it, just to look back on the progress you've made with your hand lettering and words makes you feel so accomplished. Thank you for joining me for Sunday Reflections. Please like and subscribe and share these videos. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.